Welcome into the show. Sorry, I'm out here updating my fantasy football status. I'm updating.
Come on, we're
status.
doing a show here, Paige.
I'm trying to get questions out to the people.
Oh my! You're gonna make me open the show, and we know I'm no good at that.
Chris, open the show.
Hi guys, what's going on? Chris Schubert here of the Keepers. That's Paige over there.
Okay, that was enough. I'm Paige.
That's
DeMarcos.
all you wanted from me?
I'm
All right,
host
good.
of the Keepers. I'm trying to get this show out to the people on Twitter, and yeah, that was amazing. So.
Is it out to the people now? Did you get it out?
No, I didn't get it out because you guys started yelling at me.
Do you want to finish?
Yeah. So
go
Chris,
ahead.
go ahead.
No. We'll just sit here in silence while you finish tweeting it out to everybody because that's how we opened the show this week.
Chris,
we have a lot to get to, and you're taking up the majority of the show now.
Well, here's the thing.
With this tweet
if I don't
debacle.
tweet it out.
Oh, I'm certainly not going to tweet it out.
If I don't tweet it out, you people don't know where it is.
We got people hanging out on Periscope with us.
Hi, Periscope.
They're hanging out. They're ready to go.
You can also check the show out on live stream.
Yes, you can. That's where you're trying to tweet it out. Yes, okay. There it is. I see it. You're good.
Yeah, and the problem is that Chris has like 2 followers on Twitter.
Yeah,
so
that's
like,
no way.
It's not helpful.
Yeah,
it's not helpful for him. So I got to do everything.
So we have a lot to get to.
Yeah, what are we talking about first here, Chris?
So we have some big-time breaking news in terms of a big-time quarterback.
Read this.
Yes,
because I had to look twice.
I have 3 tweets.
Yes.
I'm going to read tweets from this morning first from Mike Reese, who covers the Patriots for ESPN.
Yep.
He talked about the fact that you have Tom Brady, who was not present at the start of practice, took some hits in that game last Thursday, and he said just football, and that he'll be there on Sunday. Now, he missed his first practice of the year, and we thought, okay, no big deal, just taking a day off. Well, Michael Giardi, who covers the team for NBC Boston, tweeted out maybe, about 20 minutes ago before we went on air, that Tom Brady injured his left shoulder 2 weeks ago against Carolina and re-aggravated the injury against Tampa. So the short week may have come into play here for Tom Brady. His injury doesn't have enough time to rehab an injury that he gets against Carolina. He's got to play the short week. Now, his status for this Sunday, I don't think it's all that, up in the air right now. I don't know if we know for sure whether or not Tom Brady is going to play on Sunday. But right now, this is big breaking news here as of Tuesday that Tom Brady missed practice today and is dealing with a shoulder injury.
Yeah, this is a huge problem. This is
huge.
Tom Brady doesn't miss time, but this is what happens when your offensive line play is not very good. And that's what's happening for Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. He's had to take some really, really tough hits. And I remember watching the game last week on Sunday morning and going, wow, I don't know that he's going to make it all season long. Listen, you can eat whatever the hell you want. Okay,
TB12.
Tom Brady is the TB12 method. He's drinking green juice and eating organic food. The reality is he's got 40-year-old bones, okay? Doesn't matter what he's eating. He's got 40-year-old bones, and his old bones are getting hit in the backfield, and that's what matters. This is his left shoulder, and it doesn't matter what he's eating and that he's healthy and he's never had injuries. He's 40 years old, and he's taking some serious shots. This is big news for the New England Patriots because without Tom Brady, this team is irrelevant.
Yeah, we got a tweet maybe about 5 minutes ago from Ian Rappaport. It's what is supposed to be a AC joint sprain in his left and non-throwing shoulder of Tom Brady.
That's good news that it's the non-throwing shoulder.
He said he'll play. So we'll have to wait and see on this. I don't think it's going to keep Tom Brady out, but it is something to monitor if you are a Tom Brady owner because anytime a player misses practice, it's obviously a big deal.
All right, guys. There was a trade that happened today.
There was a trade that happened today.
There was a big trade that happened today.
Fantasy implications.
With fantasy implications because the Arizona Cardinals, if you've been watching them play football, cannot run the football.
Last in the league. 32nd in the NFL in rushing.
Last in the league. Carson Palmer's on pace to set the record for throwing.
Because he's not going to get there.
Because he cannot run the football. And that's a problem for this team. They obviously had David Johnson. They thought he was going to be the guy going into the season. He goes down before the season even starts, really. And now they turn to a guy like Adrian Peterson, which is
a big move.
It's a big move because you think of 2 years ago, Chris, they were talking about bringing Adrian Peterson in. That was before I would say David Johnson coming out part.
The emergence of David Johnson.
So he became less relevant to this team. But I'm going to pull up a tweet from Larry Fitzgerald and you talk about the implications of this trade.
So I think when you have to look at this trade, you have to ask yourself 2 things. One, do you think Adrian Peterson has anything left? I do. I think Adrian Peterson does have something left in the tank. I just worry about the fit here in Arizona because of the offensive line questions that Paige has brought up. Now, Paige, I'm trying to keep myself from not laughing because of the tweet that you brought up. So before I break out, can we just go to this tweet? This is Larry Fitzgerald.
The tweet is so good.
And it is, I'm assuming he is referencing.
This is Larry Fitzgerald.
I can only assume he's referencing the fact that they have AP
my
now.
mood this morning. There is a picture. First of all, this GIF I don't know what he typed into Twitter to get that GIF, but it's amazing.
Twitter may be upset with you.
Yeah, sorry, Twitter. I'm not calling it a GIF. It's not Jiffy peanut butter. It's a GIF.
I'm just saying.
Sorry, Twitter. We can fight over it all you want. But, yeah, he pulled up this GIF, which is amazing because I'm now imagining Larry Fitzgerald dancing.
Actually doing that?
To this GIF?
Yes.
Which is amazing.
So, okay.
But that's just... It's fun to see the players react to stuff like this.
Especially a teammate.
Especially a guy like Larry Fitzgerald, who very rarely puts anything emotional on his account. So it's fun to see this.
So the offensive line is the big question here for me. Does this offensive line play well enough for this team to have success with Adrian Peterson? And I don't know necessarily if they will. I think they need to get healthy. They need to get DJ Humphries back. They need to get Alex Boone back. But you have to think a guy whose role in New Orleans was limited. It was nothing. He didn't touch the ball a whole lot. Is going to be hungry to prove. He was already hungry to prove after he left Minnesota that he's got something left in the tank. He's now got two teams that he's going to want to prove something to. The Minnesota Vikings for not bringing him back, and now for the New Orleans Saints for getting rid of him, trading him for what, a conditional 6th-round pick, 7th-round pick? I mean, they gave up basically nothing for him. And I believe there's a second year attached to this deal. There's a team option year, or there's a player option year. So if he plays well, he can maybe parlay it into big money, or he can maybe return to the Arizona Cardinals. So I like this move for AP in terms of a fantasy perspective. I know that there are some people that are now dreaming big things for Adrian Peterson.
Let's get to that question here.
Let's wait and see a little bit on this, because this is the question that everyone wants to know.
This one comes from a fake Bruce Arians account, which is awesome. It's called Stuff Bruce Says, BA_says1, which is awesome.
Did Bruce actually say this?
Maybe Bruce is wondering. I'm a really big fan of this picture that Bruce has here. It's amazing. Is AP going to be a usable back in fantasy now? This is a huge question because Adrian Peterson, there were a lot of people that went out and drafted Adrian Peterson early. They were heavily, heavily disappointed because he was not utilized at all in the New Orleans offense. What I think here now is if you did hold on to him, which probably wasn't a good decision. You probably shouldn't have. But if you did, I know there's people that have. Is he usable? I'm in wait-and-see mode, but he's definitely in a better spot now with the Arizona Cardinals where he's going to be the guy. He is going to be the featured back, and that is what he was asking for from New Orleans, and they were like, hell no. That was not happening.
He can have more success in Arizona, that is for sure. The one thing I worry about is how long does it take him to get used to this new offense? Because the Saints offense is very different than the way Bruce Arians runs his offense. How quickly can he get up to speed? This trade happened on a Tuesday. Is he going to be with the team today? Is he with the team tomorrow? How quickly can he learn the scheme here and find himself as somebody that's going to be heavily involved in this offense? That's the question I have. Usable back, I'll add this caveat to it. Is he usable this week? I don't think so.
I agree.
Is he usable beyond this week? I actually think he has more value now than he did in New Orleans because he's going to be... Look, they cut Chris Johnson to keep him around, to bring in AP. Andre Ellington has not done anything with the opportunity given to him, and Kerwin Williams was the first guy that was given the opportunity to do something in this offense, and he wasn't. So you have to think the keys are going to be handed over to Adrian Peterson for him to be able to run this offense, basically be the lead back. So the chances are going to be there. What does he make of them? He's going to have to answer that question. He's going to have to prove it with his plan.
David Johnson was a part of 83% of their offensive snaps last year. If Adrian Peterson is a part of 60% of the snaps on offense for the Arizona Cardinals,
but yes.
That's where I'm going here. Is they utilize their featured back in such a position so highly, so much involved. Now Adrian Peterson is not David Johnson. They run they run completely differently. Yes. Adrian Peterson's not a guy who catches out of the backfield as much as David Johnson was. He was in 1,000 yard rushing and receiving yard back last year. But I'm feeling good about Adrian Peterson. I'm feeling good. He was available on waivers, and I went and picked him up because I have some injuries and I have some underperforming running backs thus far. And although I love Le'Veon Bell, I'm really, really nervous about this matchup this week against the Kansas City Chiefs and how the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to perform offensively in a week-in and week-out basis. And Chris and I talked about this in a few shows ago. Le'Veon Bell never plays 16 games. So I'm just preparing for that to happen. And I picked up Adrian Peterson because he's interesting to me. That's where I am with him. I'm interested. I'm interested in what's going to happen.
Now, we could say that Le'Veon Bell didn't play in all 16 games because he really didn't show up for the first couple.
Yeah, well, that's for sure. But there is another injury update that we need to get to. And this is, unfortunately, the entire Giants wide receiving corps for the most part. Yep. Odell Beckham Jr.
Out for the year.
Out for the year. Brandon Marshall out for the year. Sterling Shepard.
I don't know how long he's out for, but he's out.
I don't know how long he's going to be out for. It's still to be determined.
Dwayne Harris out for the year.
I mean, this is like, I've never watched a football game and watched an entire offensive unit from the receiving corps get injured. I mean, and such highly sought after fantasy football implications here. Odell Beckham Jr. is one of the top 3 wide receiving backs, in all of fantasy football. So you're not going to replace him. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like you're going to go out and get an Odell Beckham Jr.
Impossible.
No, it's impossible. But if you had a Brandon Marshall or you had a Sterling Shepard, you might be able to go out and get somebody, Chris, that's going to be at least helpful.
Yeah.
Not necessarily because Brandon Marshall hasn't been great.
No, Brandon Marshall hadn't caught a touchdown to this point this year, and you thought he was going to be the red zone guy for that team. He wasn't. Odell's the big play threat, the guy that can take a 10-yard play and turn it into a 75, 80-yard touchdown. I actually think Sterling Shepard's value increases. His ankle injury is a sprained ankle. He's dealt with this before. He dealt with it in training camp, missed about 2 weeks. I think he's going to be back on the field, and when he does, he's going to be the #1 wide receiver for this offense. So if you have Sterling Shepard, yeah, you're going to need to pick somebody up in the meantime, but I really think you're going to be able to hold on to Sterling Shepard and reap the benefits of it down the road. I got a guy on the New York Giants that I think is a good pickup here in the wake of this injury. If you do not have Evan Ingram, and Evan Ingram is available in your league, I think this is a guy that you really need to pick up. His targets have increased here over the last couple of weeks. He's really become a major player in this offense, and now with nobody else to really catch the football, this is a first-round pick that they've put on the field right away, and now he's going to have a chance to become a huge star. So I think he's a good pickup too.
So Mike Clay of the NFL, shout out to him for this tweet. But this is something interesting to look at. So with Marshall headed to the IR, these are the only available wide receivers now on the Giants roster. Sterling Shepard, Roger Lewis, Tavares King, Travis Rudolph.
Who they signed from their practice squad today.
Chris, raise your hand if you've ever heard of Roger Lewis, Tavares King, and Travis Rudolph.
I have heard of Roger Lewis.
Have you heard of Tavares King?
No, I've not. And the first time I heard of Travis Rudolph was when I learned that he was signed off the practice squad today.
That's where I was getting. This is ugly. This is an ugly group of 4 wide receivers.
Now this guy right here,
very good.
He's going to become the #1 de facto. So it's put up or shut up time for him, really. He needs to prove how important.
You have Sterling Shepard, do you not?
I do. I have him in 2 leagues. Okay. And my thought process behind drafting him was, everyone's going to pay attention to Odell. Brandon's going to get the red zone targets. Somebody's got to get the stuff in between. That's why I thought Sterling Shepard was going to live. Now, Sterling Shepard has to be the red zone target. He has to be the big play guy, and he has to be the guy that picks up everything in between.
Yeah,
he has to do everything for this football team.
It's not great.
No, it's not.
It's not great. I know. I definitely know that. Let's get into some of the others' injuries quickly. Matthew Stafford.
Sprained ankle, and I think it's a rib injury he's also dealing with his wrist. I mean, he's got a ton of stuff.
He's been top 5 quarterback thus far in fantasy football. That's a huge injury to pay attention to.
I'm actually looking up now because I want to see if there's an update from him, because he's got to play the Saints this week, and the Saints are a team that, on paper you don't think of are going to be a bad matchup for Matt Stafford, but those NFC South games always are interesting, and you have a banged-up Matt Stafford who's dealing with a hamstring, an ankle.
Yeah, a lot of problems.
He's just all over the place. Maybe his ribs were something that I just made up.
Yeah.
It's certainly possible.
No, I heard that too.
But he's been so banged up. He was bleeding at one point during the game the other day.
It was
a mess for Matt Stafford.
It was an ugly game.
So he's a guy you got to just keep an eye on, really.
Charles Clay out for the season.
Yeah,
my guy, my tight end.
Charles Clay,
well, he was a must start for a tight end, and there's very few of them this season. The nice thing for you is Nick O'Leary, their backup tight end, got a few receptions. You saw him come into the offense in the middle of the game. He went to him right away. Tyrod Taylor went to him right away. So Nick O'Leary is a guy where we talk about this tight end group quite a bit. They're not very good. They're not very consistent. Charles Clay was one of the few consistent guys. So if you have Clay, like I do, I went and picked up Nick O'Leary because I'm hoping he can be a half of the version of what Charles Clay was, and if he is, he's already more consistent than most of the league.
If you were a Charles Clay owner and you saw him get hurt, there was a guy that played on Sunday that you probably picked up. We're going to talk about him a little bit later, but there was a tight end that had a big game this week that no one expected. That's another guy that you might be able to pick up.
Another injury, which I know you have on your team, Stephon Diggs.
Can I talk about this for a second?
You sure can.
How many people out there, and I'm sure, Paige, you're involved in this as well, have multiple fantasy teams? How many fantasy teams do you have, Paige?
3.
I have 3 as well.
I have 3.
In 2 of my leagues, I was winning going into the Monday night game between the Vikings and the Bears.
Yeah.
In one league, I had Stephon Diggs. In the other, I was playing against Stephon Diggs. How many times does that situation come up? You're playing against the guy in one league, in the other league you have him, and you need him to do well, but not well enough to make you lose, right? I had that situation. I was up enough in one league where Stephon Diggs' one catch for 1.4 or 4 yards and 1.4 fantasy points was enough to get me the win in one league and then hold off in another league. So very rare, but I was very happy that Stephon Diggs did not have a big game.
Did not have a big game. You were feeling a quandary. Well, you were going back and forth. So Chris was upset, but didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't know what to feel. So he had a groin injury. He leaves the game, and then Minnesota's on their drive to win it.
And he comes out.
And all of a sudden, he's walking out of the field, and I thought, this is how I'm going to lose. This is how I'm going to lose this week. This is going to be the bad
I wish I would have had videotape of that happening.
Not a great feeling.
Quarterbacks. Derek Carr looking like he's reported that he's going to come back. Adam Schefter reported that earlier this on Monday. He reported that it would likely be that Derek Carr would come back to play, which is our very own Dr. Parekh said that injury that Derek Carr suffered is usually a 2 to 6 weeks, and he would be coming back now in the second week. So it's looking like good things for Derek Carr and then all those offensive pieces around him who have struggled mightily without him. Marcus Mariota and Sam Bradford. Sam Bradford started the football game for the Minnesota Vikings last night.
Did he, though? Did he?
It was awful.
He did not look good at all.
I don't know if it's a lingering injury or it's a combination of both, but he was not effective, got benched. Second half, Case Keenum comes in and leads that team to do just enough to win that football game. I just don't see that Bradford's going to be the guy going forward. Now, they haven't initially given away which guy's going to go forward and be the starter, but Bradford's injury has got to be continuing to linger.
So the quote from Mike Zimmer after the game was he re-aggravated the knee injury. That's vague, but it doesn't also sound good for Sam Bradford.
Well, he has 2 ACL tears in his past.
2 ACL tears, and then this is the same knee that he injured earlier in the year and came back from, and now he's re-aggravated it.
I could see that Sam Bradford doesn't start another game for the Minnesota Vikings. I could very well see that.
Do you remember us sitting on this set about a week, maybe a week and a half ago, and I told you that Teddy Bridgewater might start for this team at some point?
You might be right.
We are getting very close to that point.
We're getting very close to that.
He's progressing in the right direction. Sam Bradford and Case Keenum, for different reasons, are regressing in the other direction.
Okay, I got a stat of the week for you. Okay? Got a stat of the week.
Is it a good stat of the week?
Oh, it's a good stat.
Okay.
Deshaun Watson, rookie quarterback for the Houston Texans, has played one less game than everybody else in the NFL because Tom Savage started that game.
Tom Savage starting a football game. What
Deshaun Watson is 4 points behind the league-leading Alex Smith. He is outscoring the entire NFL on fantasy football for quarterbacks, and he's played one less game than everybody. That is great news, and that leads me straight into Trade Tuesdays. That's what we're leading. We're starting a new segment. It's going to be called Trade Tuesdays. This is the thick of fantasy football season, so we want you to tweet into us. Tell us what your trades are, and we will go through them, and we will tell you what to do.
We have a couple of our own.
Yeah, Chris, you go with your trade first, and then I'll get into what mine is.
Yeah, so I have an interesting situation because I'm in this auction league that I've talked about on the show in the past, and I've actually learned about a rule. If I acquire a player in this league that is under a certain dollar amount, I actually can protect them. I think I've said on the show in the past I couldn't do that, and it impacted our thought process on this. So I have Antonio Brown, and we've discussed this on the show before of what I do with Antonio Brown. Well, I have an offer that I received this morning.
Okay.
So I'm sending out Antonio Brown.
Is it an offer you cannot refuse?
It's close. It's close. I think I can do better, but it is close. In return, I'm getting the New England Patriots tight end Rob Gronkowski.
Okay.
I am getting Cincinnati Bengals running back Joe Mixon.
Woo.
And the hopefully debuting Los Angeles Chargers wide receiver Mike Williams.
Wow.
So
that is quite the load.
It is a big trade back, and here is my thought process behind it. Because my 2 running backs are Leonard Fournette and Devonta Freeman.
Okay.
Freeman costs too much to be able to keep to protect. Fournette doesn't. I have Fournette at a price that I can keep.
So you can keep Fournette and Mixon, is what you're saying.
I can only keep one player, but at least if I have options, it gives me that opportunity. So my thought was, if I can make this trade, get better at the running back position with Joe Mixon, give myself 2 good running backs.
Yep.
Get Gronk to add to the tight end, get a flyer Mike Williams, then I can then trade Devonta Freeman and get a #1 wide receiver and basically be even.
For sure. Here's the thing. I like value.
Value is an important thing.
And I like multiple players.
Yes.
You have to believe in trends, and I love Antonio Brown. But the trend is that Ben Roethlisberger is not the same quarterback he was in previous years. But he threw 5 interceptions in a game at home. You're 5 weeks into the season. You have to start believing that this team is not very good. They went on the road and they beat a Baltimore Ravens team, but they're traditionally very good at home. And they lost a game at home in ugly fashion to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who nobody believes in yet. And now it seems, do I believe more that it has to do with Jacksonville or more that it has to do with the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Yeah.
And that's where, for you, as an Antonio Brown owner, I look at that, what you're going to receive there.
Yeah.
I do that trade, for sure. I do that trade.
My initial hesitation is because I know the week I trade Antonio Brown, he's going to catch like 4 touchdown passes.
For sure, but that's what you got to live with. You got to live with that. My trade situation here is Deshaun Watson, as I said, is leading the league. If he's 4 points behind Alex Smith. So I have Aaron Rodgers and I have Deshaun Watson.
It's a good problem to have.
It's a very good problem to have. Deshaun Watson is in high commodity
do you have a problem area? Is there a position that you're not so strong in?
I would like better everything just because I'm greedy and I want to kill everybody in fantasy football. So I'm just thinking I'm going to fleece somebody. That's what I'm going to do here.
Plan.
I'm going to sell high. I'm going to sell high because I'm not ever benching Aaron Rodgers. Love you, Deshaun Watson,
but
at the end of the year, Rodgers will be outscoring him. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sell him high because he plays the Browns this week. This is a prime time matchup for fantasy-wise. People are going to buy in. They're going to, and I know other people have this problem. So this is what I'm telling you to do. Sell high. Always. You sell high. So you sell Deshaun Watson this week. You sell him really high. Then he goes into a bye week next week where you're not going to be able to sell him as high. Even if he has a phenomenal performance against the Browns, his value drops when he goes into a bye week. So sell high this week if you have another good option like I have Aaron Rodgers. And I'm going to fleece. I'm thinking either John or James in my high school league.
You're just calling
I'm calling them out. So
out.
I hope John and Jim are both watching this show because I'm going to fleece one of your teams and I'm taking everything.
So that's bold.
Because they're going to do it. Because they're dumb. So they'll totally buy it.
So first of all, it is bold to trade Deshaun Watson. But secondly, it is bold to tell the owner that you're going to fleece them and take their players and then end up doing it.
I'm going to do it.
That's okay.
This is my style.
I now need, next week we're going to need, or at least on Thursday,
next week we will pull up the text messages after I fleece them and after they're very upset because it's inevitable. We have a group message between all of us, so that should be highly entertaining for everybody. But let's get into some of the best performances of the week. We are going to start off with Melvin Gordon, who Chris is going to take the floor here because he called out Melvin Gordon on Sunday. And so I'm just going to let Chris repent here. But as you can see, he had a very good week, 2 touchdowns, had a great performance for a running back. Chris, this is all you, man. Yeah, tell the people why you were wrong.
34.3 total points to 2 touchdowns. The trend was saying that he wasn't going to be involved in this offense as much. He was just struggling to produce, and he was going up against a Giants team that had done a pretty nice job of limiting the run game. But you know what? And I said at the time it may be time to panic for Melvin Gordon owners. Well, at the panic time, when we were slamming on the panic button, he proved that, no, there's no need to panic. So if you're a Melvin Gordon owner and you took my advice and sat him down, I apologize. But I think Melvin Gordon proved that, you know, hey, those last couple of weeks of flash in the pan, I'm gonna play better, and he certainly did. Held the team to a victory.
Yep. So Chris had to repent.
That's okay.
He had to repent.
We make mistakes.
We all make mistakes. I made
a prediction.
We all do fantasy football sins, and this was his sin. He told you not to start.
Out of all the ones I could have made this past weekend,
this is a pretty good one. All right, Leonard Fournette, also your boy.
That's my boy.
This is
I said he was
very good performance.
Game.
Very good performance for him on the road in Pittsburgh. 28 rushes, 181 yards. My, oh my, you love that kind of production out of your number one running back and 2 touchdowns.
What you really love?
What do you really love?
That 90-yard garbage time touchdown he had. You love that as a Leonard Fournette fantasy owner. I said it. We did our show on Sunday.
I love garbage time.
The garbage time touchdowns are the best. Blake Bortles.
Especially Blake Bortles.
Yeah.
Yep.
We talked about this on the Sunday show. Leonard Fournette's cleats. I saw his cleats and I said he's scoring. He's
cheetah print,
he's
like
going to go for like 300 yards.
They were hot.
He was a fantasy stud when you saw his cleats.
I might pull him up on Twitter just to show the audience.
I want to see him again because of how good they were.
Okay, you keep talking. We'll get into Carson Wentz's performance because Carson Wentz absolutely destroyed the Arizona Cardinals. He destroyed this team, unfortunately for Arizona. But you can talk about this matchup because this was my, oh my, it was
304 total yards, 27.3 total points, the 4 touchdowns, the 3 touchdowns in the first quarter. I think the big thing here is, you're going to get a lot of points with the touchdowns. They're all big plays, right? You had 2 big play touchdowns. I think they were both 50 yards or more. That's huge. You love those big chunk plays like that. He just showed a command of this game. He was able to just see the whole field and come up with the big play and exploit the coverages. Carson Wentz is becoming a big time.
I interrupt Chris to go to the very hot
Of course he scored that many points.
Look at those things. That is hot.
Of course he went in the end zone twice. How could you can't not let him in the end zone with those touchdowns?
Cheetah print. Look at the attention to detail Under Armour. This is a free shout out for
great.
you. Man, oh man, those are nice.
Those are fantastic.
Okay.
Back to Carson Wentz for a second. He had a really good performance. He played really well, and this is now a trend for him. He is playing well. That was the first time he had that big of a performance.
Yes, for sure.
The four touchdowns.
But against a good secondary in the Arizona Cardinals, he threw all over Patrick Peterson, and he spread the ball around. This is really good. If you have Nelson Aguilar, if you have Alshon Jeffrey.
Yeah, he got Jeffrey involved, which
he
was
got
the thing
everybody
we were worried
involved,
about.
and that's.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this and I'm going, my oh my, this is good. If you're a Philadelphia Eagles fan and you're a Philadelphia Eagles fantasy football owner, not only Carson Wentz but the other pieces that we just mentioned, this is great news for you.
Very good news. He played really well for a team that needs to play better, that wants to have success this year after having a little bit of success last year. He needed to be the difference for them.
Good news for the rookie.
And he's doing very good.
Yeah, good news for the rookie. All right, last up, Ed Dickson, his performance. Chris wants to talk about this one because this is, you see Cam Newton, Greg Olsen goes down, that's his safety blanket. That's his guy he always goes to. So now it kind of seems like Ed Dickson is going to step in that role. I'm not saying he's Greg Olsen, but he's going to be utilized in the same way.
You thought when Greg Olsen went down, or at least I did, that you weren't going to necessarily see the tight end be used very much in this offense. And up until this game on Sunday, it hadn't, right? Ed Dickson had not had a big-time performance for this team. He'd been giving the ball to Christian McCaffrey out of the backfield, who finally got into the end zone for the first time in his NFL career over the weekend. Devin Funchess has been having a big game. Benjamin. Cam Newton's getting everybody else involved. Well, on Sunday, he found Ed Dickson and got Ed Dickson involved. And if you're Charles Clan, or I said it earlier, this may be a guy that while you were watching on Sunday, you saw and you're like, you know what, I'm going to pick this guy up because I have Charles Clay, who's really banged up, and hopefully I can parlay it into Ed Dickson having a couple of good games.
Yeah. I think this is great news for you. If you picked up Ed Dickson, you got a guy, he's now being utilized in the same way that Greg Olsen was, so that's great news for fantasy football owners. But we have two quick questions we'll get to.
Okay.
We end the show here. And then I have a call out that will end the show, which is so good. I'm so happy.
Out.
I'm calling everybody out,
okay.
But mostly John, who talked smack to us on Periscope last week, more specifically me.
Yeah, I'm just going to leave when that happens.
What are you doing now? This one comes from David on Twitter. He wants to know, what are you doing now without Odell Beckham Jr.? Chris, I'll let you go first because this is a tough. There isn't any way to replace him, but what can you do to best put yourself in a good position?
Sure. I think what you're mainly going to try to do is bump everybody up a spot, right? Your wide receiver 2 now needs to be your wide receiver 1. Your wide receiver 3 becomes your wide receiver 2. And you now need to fill in the blank with that wide receiver 3 who you think may have a higher ceiling. So here are a couple of names that are available in my league that are available in a lot of leagues.
Okay.
Nelson Aguilar of Philadelphia. This is a guy that is playing really well.
That's what I'm picking up.
Yeah, this is a big-time target. I got another one for you. I said it on Sunday. Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yep.
I really think is going to have an increased role in this offense. He already is having an increased role in this offense. And because of all the attention is going to go to Antonio Brown, that opens up opportunities for Martavis Bryant and Juju Smith-Schuster. I think he has a really good performance. If you want somebody like a Robert Woods in the Rams offense because they spread the ball around, that's not a bad option as well. Mike Wallace had a really good game in Baltimore on Sunday. So you have options. Look, they're not wide receiver 1s. They're not Odell Beckham Jr. But if you move everyone else up a peg, and you need to fill in the blank with a wide receiver 3, I think there's enough options.
I think of those 3 you just mentioned, I feel really good about Nelson Aguilar.
Me too. He would be my top guy.
I think of those 3, if all 3 of those are available, I think in the order that you brought them is the order that I'm picking them up. And Aguilar is available in I saw this morning, it's on 50% of ESPN standard leagues, which is crazy.
I'm looking at ESPN right now because I'm actually picking him up as we do the show. He is owned right now in 19.6% of ESPN leagues. 19.6.
Yeah, you got to go out and get
Go pick this guy up. He is the number 2 target there, and he's finally breaking into the role that they expected from him.
Now it's time.
Right.
Now it is time.
You want me to just leave?
Now it is time. Let's make sure. Okay, nicely you can see on camera.
No, seriously, do you want me to?
No, you can stay.
Okay, all right.
You can stay because you need to experience this.
I'm going to pick up Nelson Aguilar while Paige does that. All right,
okay, John on Twitter, who told me that he wanted to bet me $100 that Eddie Lacy would have a breakout game against the LA Rams. I take you to the screen.
Hold on, can I do this?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Chris.
So, a breakout game. After having 11 carries for 52 yards and averaging close to 5 yards a carry. The breakout game. He had 2 less carries.
9 attempts.
I can't do quick math, but that's a lot of less yardage.
19 yards.
And his average yard was cut in half.
2.1.
How many fantasy points did he have?
Under 5.
Not good.
Under 5 total fantasy points. So, the lesson here, as I get this off screen.
The lesson one
The lesson here, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, that's
the lesson here is do not challenge me on fantasy football because it will not end well for you. And John, I hope that you started Eddie Lacy, and you're very, very lucky that I'm not holding you to your $100 wager that you sent me on Twitter, because in my mind, Twitter is a binding contract, and I very well could come after you for that $100 that you owe me. So if you are listening, please send me a gift card to Mastro's Steakhouse so I can go out and have a celebratory dinner about how Eddie Lacy still sucks.
All right, Paige, just take us away here. Yeah, I'm good.
Chris, any parting thoughts?
No, I got nothing. You
got nothing today?
No. Pick up Nelson Aguilar. That's it.
Pick up Nelson Aguilar. Eddie Lacy still sucks. That would be the name of my fantasy football team.
It should be the name of your fantasy football. Go change it right now.
Oh, no, it is.
Okay, all right.
Eddie Lacy still sucks. That is the name of my fantasy football team, along with a lot of great puns dealing with Mitch Trubisky, the future Hall of Famer for the Chicago Bears. For Chris Schubert, I'm Paige Demakos. Go Cubs today. That's how this is ending.